On the Call Podcast Network.
Yo. All right, so we live?
We good? Yeah, we're going.
All right.
What is up, everybody? Thank you for checking out a new episode of the Glass Clown Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Christopher. Thank you for supporting the episode. Hopefully you enjoy these. On today's episode, I got my homie, King Kwasi. How you doing, man?
Yo, Pat, I'm excited, man. I'm in good spirits.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a good place mentally.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
That's good, man. So, gave you the rundown about the podcast. It's a comedy mental health podcast. We're here to talk about stuff that you go through, how you deal with it, how you use your sense of humor, your storytelling capabilities, like just how what you go through and how you get through it. Plan is to share everybody's stories, give somebody an opportunity.
Okay.
And another good tool is that when you say something out loud, it takes away the power that it has over you.
Right.
But like a lot of people don't have the opportunity to say stuff out loud like that, So this is me giving you the platform to like get it out there, man. Like what can you share that might help somebody else, that will help you get it out your chest, off your chest, stuff like that. But we'll get into that a little bit. First off, man, like where can people find you online? All that good stuff, social media, all that.
If you're 30 and up and you have a Facebook, don't look me up. I know so many people, and like my Facebook is like all personal to me.
Yeah.
So I try not to let people in just on the strength of I don't feel like I use Facebook for networking in that regard. I feel like that's what I do Instagram for. So like for a platform for people I don't know, like to reach out to people I don't know. Facebook is like people I know, so okay. I'm like a little leery. Like I take it personal, even though it's like social media, it's just a platform, but I take it personal because it's so many people on there that I know personally.
Yeah.
Whether I'm related to you, whether I went to school with you, whether, I've been knowing you for years, whether I work with you, I know you personally.
Yeah.
So having you on my page, I feel like you're not going to say nothing out of bounds. You're not going to start arguing with people. So that's why I'm like kind of like personal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But like, please follow me on Instagram. I'm King Kwasito, and that's spelled King Kwasito. The Spanish way, Kwasito. So
you got anything coming up?
June. I actually got a show in Wichita Falls at the end of the month, Memorial Weekend. I got June 6th. We're going to be at the LOL. Shout out to my Loud Pack brothers, Debo, AP. Shout out to Blair the Bear Thompson and Bobby B. Smitty. They're going to be on the show too. SA Kings of Comedy. It's going to be a big show. I think it's going to be a very, very, very entertaining show too.
Yeah.
So,
it looks like a lot of fun, 6th.
Man. Yeah,
June
it's
6th.
definitely going to be. I think it's going to be one that we're going to talk about at least till another vaccine comes out.
And you were also doing is it considered a podcast, or like you're doing this something called Watch the Duck?
It is a podcast.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if some people will consider it a podcast because sometimes it lacks professionalism.
No, but as far as like,
yes, it is a podcast. It's called Watch the Duck. It's actually a Facebook page, so you can go to Facebook for that. It's called Watch the Duck Podcast.
And what is Watch the Duck?
It's basically my platform I'm creating to showcase other people within San Antonio and maybe beyond at some point. But right now I'm like focused on San Antonio and the people here. And Watch the Duck is basically, the meaning behind it is if you watch a duck like on water, the process of them like floating on that water, like swimming or whatever you call it, looks very seamless. They're just floating across the water.
Yeah.
But under the water, the duck is kicking, and it's a lot of work that goes into doing that. So sometimes people don't understand the work that goes into making something look very easy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do comedy, if a person has a really good set, it's almost like they're just making it up as they go. That's how it seems, and that's the part that comes off genuine. It's just like they're almost up there talking shit. It's like nothing is like rehearsed or thought up, but the art of it is that's exactly what it is. It's rehearsed, it's planned. Most of it, like some of it may be off the cuff or but it's all rehearsed. So when you have a really good set, it looks really easy.
Yeah,
it looks easy to the point where people will come up to you after the set and say, "I thought about doing comedy."
Yeah,
So because they don't understand how many times you've been to open mic.
Yeah.
And how many times you tried a joke and it didn't work.
Yeah. How many times you've said the exact same thing that you just said, but before maybe the first time, like you were reading it off a card or you were just like stumbling over your words and stuff. And by the time it gets to that point where it just looks like, did he just do that? Like, did he just come up with that? That takes time. That takes a lot of time.
You can get a comic, like a young comic who maybe doesn't know like comedy history here locally, and they'll see a veteran comic and say, wow, they packed it out. They did great.
Yeah.
Man, this person have been doing this 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. It's not easy. So they had to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But in this point, because they have gotten to that point, it looks so easy. It looks so seamless. You're like, oh man, I can do that. Like people watching NBA or like, people always with sports.
Yeah.
Sports always looks easier when you're sitting down.
Yeah. Like you don't know like all the hours and the training and the working at it, the failures, like that stuff. You don't see that on the spot, when by the time they make it look so easy, like they built up to that for years.
And that's a good set. A good set is like jokes that you can tell over and over that's still really funny.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out what works and what don't. But as you continue to do it and tell those jokes, people don't know how many nights you spent telling those jokes.
Yeah.
Like trying to make it work and trying to figure out what works and what's better here and what, like the man, open mic is our gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how many nights we go to the gym?
As much as possible.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, and now you talking about you doing this for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, constantly going to the gym, working on stuff. And then you have a show and it's like hundreds of people there and you just like kill it. And everyone's like, oh my God, Pat is so good. But they don't realize how long it took Pat. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole thing about Watch the Duck. It's a lot of hard work that goes into making anything look easy.
Yeah.
So I try to showcase to people that do things and, like, this is what they've gone through. This is what they've experienced in doing that. And what would you give advice-wise maybe to somebody trying to follow your footsteps and, give them a different side and also create a platform that's going to help people get, like exposure and, maybe get more business. Whatever.
Yeah, man. I mean, like promotional like tools are just, it's so hard because everything's so like forgettable. Everything on Facebook is just a swipe away.
Yeah,
everything like that. So to create something that actually calls like gets the attention to where you're giving that person the best platform possible to promote themselves, it's hard to find that stuff, man. So that's why I try to do with these podcasts. So that's what you're doing with the Watch the Duck. So respect for that, dude.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So what is your journey with comedy? Like what you started and what drives you to do it?
It's like, man, I can't remember a time not being funny, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I always had the same intention. Sometimes the jokes stem from attention seeking.
Yeah.
Because I'm a middle child, and out of my immediate siblings, because I have siblings that didn't grow up in the house with me. So out of my immediate siblings that was in the house with me, I'm the darkest one.
Mm-hmm.
Within the black community, right? Complexion is sometimes a thing. It's definitely a thing if you're talking about like roasting.
Mm-hmm.
Like what cutting, how we used to call it, joking. Whatever you call it. If it's definitely a thing, especially in the black community, because it's like something that we do amongst ourselves. Now, an outsider could do it. Like you could comment on how dark I am, right? But it's gonna come off as racist.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So within the culture and the community, it's something that we always you might see it, like light skin versus dark skin, like that type of thing. So in my household, especially with my siblings, I was the darkest one. So because my dad was dark, I didn't necessarily have a complex, right? But I felt like I had to compete, like for attention. So being funny was my thing. You know, I could turn anything into a joke to some degree. You know, like sometimes the joke might be offensive.
Yeah.
And I've always had that mind, but it was just like attention seeking. And then I think it turned into like a coping mechanism at times.
What was the vibe like growing up? Like, did you use humor because the environment was kind of like
Well,
negative?
It was more like we was in that, what they would call in that time, like latchkey kids.
Okay.
Which was like, that's what they called them in the 80s. When you were the kids who went home and you had to have a key to get in because nobody was there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Parents at work.
Yeah, but my parents
Fend
were
for
like,
yourself.
my parents were married, but they were always gone. My dad was in the military, and he was in a different place in his life than he is now, right? So at that time, I feel like his priority was, I go to work, you know, I take care of my family, and then I get to do what I want when I get off. So at times he just wasn't there.
Okay.
You know, like at night. You know what I'm saying? Like in the nighttime, whatever. Like he bartended, he worked second jobs, he did a lot of different things. But now that I'm older, I kind of feel like some of that was to keep him away from the house. Like he's like, okay, well, if I go to work, I don't gotta go home. You know what I'm saying? And then some of the jobs are like, he's a bartender, so he's around women. He's a bartender, so he gets to drink for free. You know, man, I grew up with Crown Royal bags all through my house.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So I knew my dad drunk. Like the family structure on my dad's side was good. You know, like, so by the time we came along, grandkids, my grandparents were in the church. You know, so to meet up at my grandparents' house, my dad and them had to like hang outside. You know what I'm saying? Like on the carport, which is like a car, you know, like you could pull it. It wasn't a garage because it wasn't like fully closed in. It was just like that covering, and that's what they called it, carport.
Yeah.
So you just put, you know, like that. My uncles and my dad and them and all them people, they would hang outside right there, drink. You know, so I didn't grow up in a super negative environment. My mom did battle with drug addiction.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't to the point where we were like missing stuff, didn't have stuff, you know, like going without because of my dad.
When did you finally realize that she had that going on?
When we took her to rehab.
How old?
Was, man, I was in middle school then, so I probably like 12, 13 in that range.
So you could understand what was going on. Like
yeah.
You knew what was going on.
But it was like, the funny thing about it is I didn't know, right? But like I knew. But she didn't say it. You know, like they didn't say it. They like, you know, she had to go to this place and she had to be gone because she had to get better.
Yeah.
So I'm like, are you sick? And man, for me, not to sound like, I guess like super egotistical, but I was like cerebrally, I was like a very smart kid. And I think it's just because I picked up on stuff really quick. So when you're saying something, I'm trying to like process it in my mind as you're saying it. So I'm like, well, if you're sick, like what's wrong with you? Yeah. Because you don't look sick. You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you sleep a lot. You know what I'm saying? But, and you know, you're gone, you know, like certain things I just feel like, you know, like I'm like, you're sick. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Okay, well, okay. If that's what you say it is, so be it. Before she went to rehab, did you know that there was something going on, or it wasn't until she? No, because we were very functional in that regard. Yeah. Like I said, it wasn't like the stereotypical, and this is probably real for some people. I don't want I say stereotypical because this is how they normally paint drug use. Yeah. It wasn't like we were going without, we didn't have stuff, you know, like we didn't live in the projects, you know, so it wasn't that lifestyle. Yeah. It was just more of like, man, we're here a lot by ourselves. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That was a big thing. We was home alone a lot by ourselves. You know, but not going without, like not. Yeah, no, we had. You know what I'm saying? I feel like my dad did a really good job of trying to cover it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like just trying to maybe like fill in that place, but he wasn't. A big thing with us wasn't doing no parenting to me. You know, like because I'm a parent now. I feel like when I was younger, I didn't get a lot of parenting from adolescence to like teenage years. By the time I started getting parenting, I was like 13, 14, and it was kind of like, You were a middle kid. Like, what was the age difference between the oldest and then you? Like, was the oldest? We're all 2.5 years apart. Oh, just 2.5 years? Yeah. That's pretty close. So we're all very close. Yeah. But I was probably the most responsible one in the regard of my dad or my mom will leave and say, look, keep an eye on this. Look, cook this and make sure, you know, everybody eat. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, not that you're in charge, but, you know, make sure this gets done. Yeah. You know, because I know you'll do it.
What was that like for you? Like the stress on that? Like you were in charge.
Man, look, that was
because some people would think like, oh, that's that I'm in charge. That's a pride thing. Like, yeah, I'll take charge. Or some
I
people
was
like,
that
why,
person.
why me?
No, look, I was that person of, like I always looked at responsibility as a good thing.
Okay.
So if someone like bestowed something on me and said, hey, can you handle this for me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you take care of this for me? Can you make sure this gets done? I always looked at it as a good thing because you thought enough of me to ask me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you was taking advantage of me. I didn't look at it like that. But even when I probably was being taken advantage of, like I just didn't look at it like that because the way I processed it was, if you're asking me to do it, you must think highly of me.
Okay. Yeah.
In that regard, so I didn't look at it as a burden, and I didn't have to, like with my brothers, because we were all boys. I didn't have to like micromanage them and like try to like parent them in that regard. My younger brother, I did to probably like some degree, but I really didn't, because we were all like very close. So we always kind of like had the same thing going on. Like it wasn't never, okay, no one's here, I got to stop you from doing this, and I got to stop you from doing this. No one's here, we basically get to do what we want to do. So what we gonna watch?
Yeah.
What we gonna eat? You gonna go outside, you know what I'm saying? Hey, be careful, you know what I'm saying? But make sure you back by this time. So we was kind of like, I don't know if it was maturity or just like self-contained. You know what I'm saying? So, which is weird because, man, look, we're in an age range of like 7 to 12. My youngest brother's probably 7. I'm like 10. My oldest brother's like 12, 13. You know what I'm saying? And that's probably like when it starts, like of us being a home alone a lot by ourselves. But I didn't have a problem with it. I feel like anything mental health for me came in adulthood. I don't know how much of my childhood played a part in it, except for probably the relationship with my mother.
That didn't have an effect on you, like going through all that stuff so young, like because the family was tight from it. Like you didn't have like anything on the outside. Like weren't you embarrassed about if people found out, what your mom's going through, what you were going through, like?
Well, like stuff? Look, because at the time it was happening, which is like 80s, early 90s. At this time, it's the crack epidemic. So it's people with worse than me.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to school with kids who have it way worse than me.
Yeah.
So a lot of kids looked at me because my parents were just still together. Like in that
That's rare.
That perspective. My parents are together.
Yeah.
Some kids thought we was rich. Like they looked at us like, oh, well, you rich because your parents are married.
Yeah.
Because they don't have
Something's
a dad
working.
in a home.
Or
they don't know. They live with
household.
their grandma. So in their mind, just to have a proper family structure was a lot.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at it like that. And then, like I said, it didn't affect us like that. Like we didn't go out. Like we didn't have a lot of name brand stuff. Like I didn't grow up wearing Jordans and I didn't grow up wearing Polo and stuff like that. Stuff that I wear now. But I didn't look at it like, man, we just kind of like really missing out.
Yeah.
I was very close with my granddad who worked. So I had a good mindset about work ethic. Like you had to work for whatever you got. So when I got to like probably like 10, 11, 12, right, I started like looking at drug dealers and stuff like that. Like, okay, well, technically that's work. You know what I'm saying? Like they working, it's just a different type of work. So that's how I reasoned it. And I didn't have a lot of people pulling me away from that life because I didn't have a lot of adult parenting like immediately hindering me. Like I said, my parents were gone, so I could hang out to maybe like 9 or 10 o'clock and nobody's at home. You know what I'm saying? So like imagine being a kid and you could just be at home after school. You 12 years old and you can go and hang out wherever you want until like 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With no kind of like consequence, as long as you don't do anything. Like you don't get into any trouble legally, or like you don't do anything like in that regard.
Yeah,
and you could pretty much do what you want.
Yeah.
So having that type of freedom, I didn't look at it like it was messed up.
It was normal to you.
Yeah, it was okay. Like it was like, oh, this is fine. Then I did come from a background of, on my mom's side, it was probably a little dysfunctional, right? Because everybody would leave, and it's like the oldest kid is in charge. So it's like a house full of kids. Basically, but it wasn't like abnormal to me because I knew a lot of people who lived like this.
Yeah, that was kind of normal back then, like especially if you grew up. Well, you had your parents together, but like we spent a lot of time alone because my mom had to work. My mom worked late and stuff. It was never like nothing like that. But we were a little bit older. But
Right.
but yeah, but you know a lot of people that have that like that situation where like the kids got to take care of the kids, you know, and everything had to be taken care of before the parents got home because they still ruled even though they weren't there.
Yeah,
you know?
they still were the authority figure, and
Yeah.
it's like in that time, physical discipline is what you got.
Yeah.
You know, you was gonna get your ass whooped.
Yeah.
And you knew it if you fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So even though they wasn't there all the time, they still had a presence of if I come home and shit is fucked up, someone's gonna be held accountable.
Yeah.
And the way you're gonna be held accountable, you're gonna get your ass whooped. So you know that mindset of I don't want this physical punishment.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm only gonna do things to a certain degree. You know, at least for me, until I got to like my teenage years. My parents divorced. I think if anything, man, the relationship with my mom is probably what had a mental toll on me, because I think at times I questioned, you know, like maybe my, you know, like relevancy. You know what I'm saying? Like how
Between
like,
you and your mom?
well, just like as a whole, you know,
Oh,
like
okay.
I always tried to, when I was younger, I always tried to maybe over exaggerate my existence.
No, I get that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm special. I'm special because I didn't feel special.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I felt important at times because I was being delegated to. Like, hey, you're the smart one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're the one I can count on to do this.
And what were you doing to get that attention?
Just like what I was told.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I went to school, I got good grades for the most part. I wasn't a kid who was always in trouble at school. I got into like because you know, like a lot of people don't know, maybe, or they do know. Kwasi is my real name. That's my real name, my real first name. So in the 80s and 90s, of course, Quasimodo was the joke.
Yeah.
You know, once I would say, "What's your name, Kwasi?" Like Quasimodo, you know, no, we're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I had this issue with like being respected too. You know, not just like you know, like you're not gonna disrespect me.
Yeah.
That's how I always felt. Like you're not gonna disrespect me. If I felt like you was gonna disrespect me, it was gonna be physical violence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Off the top. You know what I'm saying? Like just I can remember a time we lived in Asheville, North Carolina, when I was in the 5th grade. And we was going to a new school. We just moved there. And you know, this was a time where like the teacher introduced the kid in front of the class.
Yeah.
You know, you come to the class, hey, everybody, this is Patrick. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna be our new student. He's from wherever. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, you know, like the teacher's introducing me. This is Kwasi. And somebody's like Quasimodo?
Yeah.
You know, like, everybody start laughing. I walk right up to him and punch him in the face. You know what I'm saying?
First day of school?
So like well, it was my first day at the school. School was already going.
Man,
You
those,
know,
are,
we
those are
moved.
stressful situations starting a new place.
Look, man,
Like,
I went from being a new kid to like this kid might have anger issues.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I had anger issues as much as I was like trying to maybe like belong. You know, like I want to be a part of something that I felt like I was important. You know, like because I did feel important in my family at times. You know, but in the grand scheme of things, I really didn't. You know, like and then being funny was a way I got attention.
Yeah.
You know, like I could make people laugh. And because I could make people laugh, people always want to be around me. You know, so that was a big thing too. You know, and then I could like roast you. You know, I could get in that world too. You know, so and then if you want to fight, I could fight. You know, so I felt like I could do all these things, and some of them were like negative things, but they got me attention in the sense of, hey, that's Kwasi. You know,
Yeah.
like that's do you know Kwasi? You know, like so I felt important. Like I felt like I had some sort of like relevancy. You know, like of who I was.
So it's not just like feeling important in your family unit. You wanted to feel important. Like you needed people to notice you.
Right. Well,
Like-
in my family, I was just Kwasi.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we can leave him in charge, but he's not like the kid we praise, and he's not like the most athletic. So it's just like, well, Kwasi, you can handle that, right?
Yeah.
You know, like so it wasn't like I didn't feel like super important. I just like, okay, well, they think enough of me to like, you know, be responsible. And I appreciate that because you guys think enough of me to do that. But it wasn't. That's Kwasi. It
But
wasn't
like
like, oh my God, here comes Kwasi. My brother, my younger brother, you know, for whatever reason, he was like the kid that when we went somewhere like to my grandmother's or to an aunt,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, here he is. You know what I'm saying? He you know, like they called him Johnny Mac. And
Oh,
here's
yeah.
Johnny Mac. You know, like they made a big deal out of him. He was always that kid. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, well, what do I got to do to be that kid?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, because everyone's always happy to see him for whatever reason. I don't know what it was about him. You know what I'm saying?
He was the youngest or the oldest?
He
or
was
what?
the youngest.
Oh, the youngest.
And I don't know if it was maybe because he looked so much like my mom people, you know, like on that side of the family. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it was because he was the baby boy, you know what I'm saying? And he was the youngest. I don't know what it was. You know what I'm saying? But he was just that kid, man. Everyone was always excited to see him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, what do I got to do to get that type of, you know, like everyone's excited to see me when I get here.
Did you ever get that from your family? Like, did you ever like successfully become that? Like, oh, here's
in
Kwasi?
my teenage years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the more I got into the like making people laugh,
Uh-huh.
the more it's like, okay, well, Kwasi's here. You know what I'm saying? Because now we're gonna laugh. You know what I'm saying?
The life of the party's here.
Yeah, because he's gonna come with the jokes and he's gonna make everybody laugh.
Yeah.
You know, he's gonna make everything a joke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So as I got older, once you know, I feel like I perfected it with my family.
Where do you think you got that from? Like, laughter gets the attention that I want from friends, family, and all that stuff. Like, where did you know that was what you needed to do? You know what I mean?
Like, man, you know, I just think it was the response.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like growing up with girls, you know, like in the sense of like once I started like liking girls, laughter was always like the icebreaker.
The icebreaker, yeah.
You know, like if I could make her laugh, my grandma used to have a saying, you know, like if you make her grin, you in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Grandma told you
my
that.
grandma told me that. You know, rest in peace. My grandma told me that. You know, so I always knew that laughter was always a way to like build rapport.
Yeah.
You know, even when I was a kid, like talking to my teachers, talking to a counselor, you know, like I always knew laughter was the way to like break that, you know, like that barrier, like that silence.
Yeah.
You know, so I always kept it in my back pocket. And the more as I got older and I realized it was super effective, I just used it more. You know, when I was like 16 trying to get a job, I was like gonna crack a joke or two in there.
Yeah.
To try to like make the guy think, okay, yeah, he's okay, you're a nice kid, you're a good kid, I can trust you.
I like
you know?
the vibe. You know?
So I always knew it was like a way to break that barrier. And if I was in trouble, you know, like if I was in trouble at school, you know, if I was in trouble somewhere, it's not with my parents though. It didn't work with my parents. My parents was like, fuck that shit, you fucked up. I don't want to hear that shit. Don't even. Why are you even in my presence? You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't work with them, but like pretty much everywhere else, like if I could start talking, I could make you laugh. I already knew that was gonna bring, you know, like your guard down, and I could probably get what I wanted. In worst case scenario, just not get in trouble.
Yeah,
you know, maybe in
make
that
you
regard,
forget that I'm in trouble.
This shit,
yeah,
you know. So, man, I would sit in the office in high school when I used to get in trouble a lot because my parents were divorced, and I think that's where a lot of my issues started to come from, the divorce. You know, like, and it was already like an issue with my mom as far as not feeling like valued. And then once we divorced, the contact wasn't there. Like she didn't call us. She didn't, at least me, you know, like she didn't call to check on us, me.
They divorced and you stay with your
yeah,
dad?
Well, we got a choice, you know, like, you know, to stay with my dad or my mom. My dad was coming to San Antonio. I was going to like the 9th grade. My dad was coming here. So we had a choice, and I was always close with my dad. I had a really good relationship with my dad always, you know, as a young kid.
That's so crazy that they let y'all choose.
Well, we were all like in that window. Like I'm going to the 9th grade. My older brother, he's already in high school.
Yeah.
My younger brother, he's 2 years behind me, so he's in like the 6th grade, going to the 7th grade. You know, like, so we were all kind of like in that window of like young adolescents. So I felt like they probably were like, hey, we don't have to force it on them. You know, like they can make a decision which way they want to go. Because my younger brother stayed. He stayed with my mom. He was always super close to my mom. He used to call my mom by her first name.
Yeah.
He was the only kid that could do that. Like if we called my mom by first name, she would get mad.
Yeah.
You know, like, but my youngest brother, if he did that, she was okay with it. So that's how they communicated. He stayed 6 months. We came to San Antonio. Me, my older brother, my dad, we came to San Antonio. 6 months, my dad was like, I'm gonna leave y'all here for the weekend. I'm gonna go get your brother.
Wow.
So he went and got my brother and came back.
Why, was there something going on with your mom?
Yeah, my mom couldn't handle him.
Really?
And my brother was like in that lane of, like I said, he was in that lane of like hanging out late.
Oh yeah.
You know, like he was like probably like on that like teetering line, he was going to be in the streets for real.
Yeah.
You know, because my brother ended up being a street person anyway. So I feel like that was always in him, you know, like just to be that person. He was always embraced by those people. But because my mom was like a single parent and she was the only person there, and I feel like she was probably struggling still with her addiction, you know, like going back and forth, she can't be hands-on with him. And then she doesn't have a disciplinary relationship with him. They have more of a friendship.
Yeah.
So he's a young adolescent. You in the 7th grade, you like 12, 13. You know, so you really coming into like what you feel like as is a man. Or like, you know, you're starting to have like, you know, you coming into puberty, you coming into that little place. She couldn't handle him.
Yeah.
You know, so he probably was doing a lot of what he wanted to do, you know, in the sense of like, man, I would talk to my brother a lot, you know, and it would be like nights. He would be like, man, I'm finna go back outside. It would be like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy. Yeah.
So I'm finna go back outside. You know, so and my dad went and got him. He came down here, and man, we just got into the streets because he turned into like my running buddy. You know, like that was like almost like my best friend at times. That was my anything I did, he was probably with me. So that was probably like a good thing, but a bad thing because I was doing a lot of things. And then my dad was a single parent, so he wasn't home a lot. You know, he would go to work. He was in the Army. He would go to work, and then after he would get off work, he would go to a second job. He worked as a cashier at a Texaco. So he would go to the Texaco, and he would be there. Or sometimes he would go to work. He would get off at like 7, 8. He'd come home, bring us dinner. You know, here's some food. And then I'm finna go. He would work overnight at Texaco from like 10 to 7. So if like that window from like 5 to 10, we might see him, we might not.
You're on your own.
You know,
Yeah.
we could do pretty much whatever we want. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Look, my older brother, he had a baby in the 10th grade. You know, going into 11th grade.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we was home
All
alone.
that freedom, man.
Yeah.
You're gonna act up. You're gonna get into some trouble.
And then my mom wasn't active. She wasn't calling us like to check on us. You know, like to check. Man, look, I remember I was dating somebody and I was probably like 21, and I had like a moment where I just like broke down and I cried because I felt like, man, like why she don't fuck with me? You know what I'm saying? Like she don't call. You know what I'm saying? Like she don't reach out, check on you. Like I'm your kid. I see all these other kids, they have their mom. You know what I'm saying? And I would just be like, damn, you know, like what is it about me? You know what I'm saying, that you don't like? You know what I'm saying? That you feel like you don't want to just fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? So, and I broke down. I'll never forget it because I was like sobbing. You know what I mean? Like it was just like
it's a painful thing to think that. You
and
know,
then
like,
I had like a moment to where I was like, oh my God, I'm crying. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just like crying. And then I got mad. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I got mad and I was like, man, I was a little different after that. You know, like, and I feel like I was different with women. Yeah. That was a big thing. I was different with women because I was expecting women to, like, if you can't love me like I feel like my mom should love me, which is unconditional, you know, because that's probably the only time you're going to experience unconditional love. It's like a mother's love. Like a mother going to love you usually regardless. You see people who commit murders, their mom will come see them on death row. You know, like she love them, even though they are a terrible person. You know what I'm saying? She still will like, that's my baby. You know what I'm saying? I know he messed up, but he's still my son. I was looking for that from women, which they're not obligated to give me that. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, that's what I'm looking for because I'm not getting it from my mom. So if you're not giving me that, it's like, oh, bitch, you finna get cheated on. You know what I'm saying? So
it's horrible. It's not fair, but I mean, that's where it stems from, you know? So that's when it started like to affect you. You said that was around like 21. You started to realize that stuff, and it affected you. It affected your relationships with females.
I definitely had anger issues when I got into my teenage years, because I would just like fight off the rip. You know, like I would just like explode sometimes. And I think it's because sometimes I maybe felt like I didn't matter. You know, to like certain people, which is probably my mom. You know what I'm saying? So because I felt like I didn't matter, I was like struggling to kind of like find my place. So that's why I put so much emphasis on being respected. You know, because I felt like if you don't respect me, you know, like this person, you know, like maybe like in the back of my mind probably is like, this person doesn't even like me. So, you know, like you gotta respect me or else.
No,
you know, like I gotta get it from somewhere. You know, like, and it's not gonna be like the love, so I gotta get that respect. And sometimes respect feels like love. You know, like because people treat you a certain way when they respect you. You know, like, but it's not. You know, like, so in my teenage years, I fought a lot. I got into like a certain place where I was kind of like trying to figure it out. When I did figure it out, that my mom was like a big cause of it, I didn't go to counseling. You know, like I I grew up with not that counseling was bad, but I felt like I always had to be strong because I was always the kid in charge.
Yeah.
So I looked at counseling like, okay, well, if counseling's either for like people who got money or people who are like really fucked up. And I didn't feel like I was really fucked up, and I didn't feel like I had money.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't think there was anything wrong with counseling or like I had seen a therapist or anything like that. But I was just like, I can't afford that, and I don't think I need it.
So you're going through this. Did you talk to anybody, like even like friends or just your?
I was just
you
like,
kept it all to yourself?
I would process it in the form of like music and reading. You know, like I would read about other people and like things they went through and how they, you know, like persevered through it, like famous people or just maybe not famous people who went through things, and there's like, you know, this person's trying to tell their story. You know, so I would read stories, and like, you know, I would just like kind of like zone out with music. I would channel a lot of my emotion through music, you know, like just like trying to just like zone out and like be in that moment. I didn't talk to like people about my feelings. I didn't start doing that till I was like dating and like 20s, in my 20s, and I was dealing with a woman who was like, well, you know, like, why do you feel like you like this? Why do you communicate like this? You know, like asking me certain questions that maybe caused me to like self-reflect a little bit. Then I started to kind of like dig deep a little bit and try to like process it, because I came from I think I came up in a time too where like, you know, like I said, like therapy was like frowned upon, and you didn't talk about mental health. You know, like even to this day, man, I have moments where I feel like I can't be vulnerable. You know, like I just can't, because it's a form of weakness that I'm not willing to give.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And that's how I feel.
Where'd you get that outlook from? You think it was like family thing or culture? Like where do you think that? Because I mean, I agree with you. Like people like see it as weakness, and it's not. I mean, you're trying to fix your shit. You know, you're trying to fix
right.
yourself.
You're trying to correct what you feel like is wrong with you. You know, like or like at the most maybe just express what you're feeling, and you don't want to be shamed for it. Because I feel like I did grow up in a time where that was the culture. You see what I'm saying? So that was another thing for me too. Like, if I tell you all my feelings, then what happens after that?
Yeah.
You know, like what are you gonna do
feel
to
like
fix it?
Yeah.
You know, like I think I spent a lot of time maybe looking for someone to fix me.
Yeah.
You know, like tell me how to fix it. And if I share this with you, you got to be able to tell me how to fix it.
Yeah.
And if you don't tell me how to fix it, all I did was just like make myself vulnerable to you and tell you how fucked up I am.
Yeah.
And now I feel like a dumbass. You know what I'm saying?
It's hard to think like that, because like you're like, I'm giving you all the ammo that you need to destroy me. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm revealing all my weaknesses. So either you help me fix it, or you just have all these tools to use against me. You know, so it's like stuff like that. Like I was really against therapy. I was supposed to go when I was a kid. When my parents divorced, they divorced like I was fifth grade.
Okay.
Right. So I had like a lot of anger issues, and so my mom takes me to a therapist, and I was all for it. You know, all for it, because the therapist says,
yeah, you're in the 5th grade, so you're like what, 11, 12?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, like in that window.
Yeah. And had a lot of anger issues and stuff, and so the therapist was like, everything that you say here is between us.
Right.
And then she told everything to my mom. And I was like,
so then you had anger issues and trust issues.
Yeah. I was like, therapy does not work. This is bullshit. Fuck that. You know, all that stuff. I mean, I guess they had to tell my mom stuff, like
some of it. You
some
know, like,
of it. You know,
yeah, man. Look, as a dad, right? Who's like not a in the house dad with all my kids.
Yeah.
You know, like with pretty much all my kids for the most part, we have a very good rapport. They'll talk to me about things they want to talk to their mother about, but at some point, if they're talking to me about certain things, I feel like I gotta tell your mom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I if I didn't tell her, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I would be a bad dad. You know what I'm saying? But
that's just co-parenting.
I would
that's
always
how you co-parent,
let them know, man, look, I gotta share this with your mom. So like I maybe kind of feel the therapist in one aspect of it, but once you tell a person that this is confidential,
that's what it should be.
Yeah, like if they were gonna divulge that, like tell me, you know, like hey, certain things if you're talking about certain things, I gotta tell your mom. But I guess in their mind, like if I tell you that, you probably won't open up. Yeah,
but yeah. So I had trust issues.
So you had
that.
Let me ask you this: but like going to the therapist, right? And that happened. They tell your mom, so you figure it out. Like everything I'm telling you, telling my mom.
Yeah.
Did you just shut down with the therapist?
Never went back. I never went back.
You told your mom you don't want to do it no more?
Yeah, thought I wasn't gonna go, and
Okay.
I didn't see another therapist until almost 5 years ago.
Yeah, because you felt like it didn't work.
I felt like I couldn't trust them,
That's a big thing.
and the trust was a big thing.
But the trust was gone.
Trust was gone
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
That's a big thing though, man. Like especially when you're talking vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Like so to be able to be vulnerable and like you gotta trust that person. Like
Yeah.
if you don't trust them, it's gonna be hard.
There's a lot of power. You're giving up a lot of power when you deal with stuff like that.
Man, you're giving up all the power, really.
Yeah.
Like it's some people like try to like, oh, it's powerful to be vulnerable. Man, it's really not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
because you're giving up everything to this person, and how they take that information is very important because they could take it and use it against you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They could take it and like flip the script and make you the villain. Like it just depends on how they, like whatever I guess their perspective is on it. On certain levels.
So after you started having kids, that's when it started getting really heavy.
Oh yeah. Like I think that's when I probably started experiencing anxiety. Like, oh shit, like can I do this? Like what's gonna happen if I don't?
Yeah.
I would do this thing where I would like push my tongue like on my like the top of my mouth or like my tooth. And I didn't realize I was doing that shit for like years until I started like reading up on anxiety. And it was like one of the
like that was like a calming mechanism. Like
like when I kind of like get in that mode of like feeling anxiety, that's how I would like respond to it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it was even a calming mechanism. It was just like how I responded to it. And I was reading about it. It was like if you find yourself doing these things, maybe you're suffering an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
And I was reading the list like, damn, I do a lot of this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like in certain moments, I do a lot of this shit. Like so when I feel like overwhelmed, like when I feel like maybe like moments of like, just being truthful, like moments of inadequacy and not like in a sexual sense, but like being in a room full of people that have degrees and you a person that didn't finish high school.
Yeah.
So now you having all these discussions about accomplishments and people are like, so what do you do? Like, I sell drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But you can't say that. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, oh well, now you lying. Making up this shit so you don't, because you don't want to feel inadequate or you don't want to feel like you don't belong in that moment. Like, fuck you doing here? So that's when I feel like I first started kind of like coming into the anxiety place. The depression was like, man, I feel like I was like later in life just because things will start piling up. Like I had been an adult for a while. I had multiple kids. Shit, I had this bullshit ass job. The child support is kicking my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like just dealing with certain things and then not wanting to talk about it because I felt like if I like exposing these what I felt like were weaknesses would make me look weak because I didn't want nobody like, damn, you weak, you struggling, bro, you can't pay your child support, you can't pay your bills. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because when you go through it, you think like, oh, this is just me.
Exactly.
This is just my problem. I don't know who to turn to. I can't.
You don't feel like no one can relate to you.
I don't feel safe sharing this with anybody because everybody else looks like they got their shit together.
And then you feel you're gonna. But at least for me, I felt like I was gonna be ridiculed.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to you like, Pat, man, I'm kind of like fucked up. You mind if I like get a ride home or something simple? Not even you asking for money, but like, hey, look, I want to go to an open mic. You mind giving me a ride?
Yeah.
You need a ride. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I'm gonna be ridiculed for needing help. So like I don't want to be in that space of. You're able to say, well, I had to help you out. I had to do this for you. It was like, well, damn, maybe I should never ask you for help because now you made me feel bad for asking you for help.
Yeah. That's a horrible feeling, man, to feel like you can't get it out. And then you just stuck with that in your head, and it makes the anxiety, makes the fears that much and the depression that much stronger against you. Because you do feel like you're doing it all alone and stuff, man. But nobody does, man. Everybody goes through stuff. We all have different stories, but
everybody goes through something. I feel like just like similar, but different.
Yeah,
like everybody goes through it. Nobody. I don't think anyone has like a upbringing where they don't experience any like emotional trauma, or like profound disappointment. You know what I'm saying? They like just things in your life as a whole where you're like, damn, like, is this what life is?
Yeah.
Because shit, man, I feel like I said, I had a good childhood, like for the most part. I feel like a lot of my shit came as in adulthood, figuring out that, okay, well, like the financial stability.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And being, you know, like consistent in that area, and not wanting to ask for help. You know, like when you need help. You know what I'm saying? Like you behind on your fucking rent and you got to notice, but you don't want to ask nobody for help. You just constantly going to work trying to figure it out, but shit, technically going to work ain't working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's how you got behind. You know, like you working. You know, so it's not like you're not out here with no job, but it's just not enough to pay your bill. So you like, at least for me, I felt like, man, like, shit, I don't want to tell anyone this. You know, like, because if I tell people, then they're gonna be like, oh man, Kwasi broke.
Yeah.
Or Kwasi he's this, or Kwasi he's that. You know, so I didn't want to share it with anyone. I would just try to talk myself through it. Like, man, look, this is what you got to do. Okay. You know, you'll get through it. Let's do this first, and then do this, and then I would try to like just coach myself. You know, like because I didn't always want to open up and give anyone that power because I was being vulnerable.
Yeah. What do you do now? I mean, like you still don't do like the therapy. You still don't like. What do you do now?
I still have.
What helps you now?
I'm definitely probably more open to going to therapy now. I think it's probably just more of a financial thing. You know, I just haven't tried to pursue it, but I still do the same thing. You know, like I'll just kind of like isolate, and then it'll be like a self-help thing. You know, like of me talking to myself and saying, okay, this is just being real with myself, trying to be real with myself, and saying, okay, this is what's going on. This is what you need to do. Like, you know for a fact this is what you need to do. You know this. Is it going to be easy? No.
Yeah.
But you got to do this because this is why you got to do it. And in order to do this, you know, like you got to do this. And I'll start like talking to myself.
Yeah.
Like I'll be driving and like I may just be like leaving out for the day. You know, like in the sense of I've been at home all day with my kids. You know what I'm saying? So like as I'm leaving out, like driving, I'm like talking to myself.
Yeah.
Okay, like we got to make sure we do this, and we got to make sure we do. Like it's weird because I'm saying we like in the third person, like it's more than one person. But
so like you're setting up like a to-do list type of thing.
But I'm saying it. You know, like I'm not just thinking it, I'm saying it. I'm talking to myself, and then you know, like man, look, I'll come from an open mic. And I'll be talking to myself the whole way home. You know, like, why did you say this, man? And why you should have said this? You know what I'm saying? You know what you got to do, though, man. You know, you got to work on being more comfortable. You got to do this. I'm just like self-coaching myself because I think too, me who I am, I don't always respond well to constructive criticism. You got to give it to me a certain way. You got to give it to me in a manner. It's like, you got to put that sugar on it. If you don't put the sugar on it, it's gonna be abrasive to me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take it.
I'm gonna the whole time you're talking to me, I'm gonna have my arms folded.
Yeah,
like I can't wait to either respond or just like never fucking talk to you again. You know what I'm saying? It's either or. You know, like so I can't wait to either cuss you out or just like fucking never speak to you again. You know what I'm saying? So knowing that I don't always like hearing it from other people, I try to give it myself. The thing I feel like with therapy that's a plus is that you have which is you should most of the times, right? An unbiased person there that's trying to help you. Yeah. So as you're releasing and saying things, you got someone there responding to you. And not only are they responding to you, they're trying to help you. I guess with me, with the solo therapy is like there's no like positive reinforcement other than myself. Like me telling me do this, do that, do that. There's no one else there. And like, man, realistically, I think every human needs positive reinforcements outside of themselves. You need people to like pat you on the back,
especially if you don't like yourself, especially if you have like very like low self-confidence or anything like that. You know, like you're the last person that's going to build you up if you don't. Yeah, like if you really don't believe in yourself. You know, if you have low self-esteem, it's very hard to like like coach yourself because you don't even believe in yourself. Yeah. So the way you view yourself is really fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So, which is like, man, I've always been a person that even when I was probably like being told I was ugly, I'm like, yeah, I might be ugly, but somebody like me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're like, I always been able to kind of like pull myself up in that regard, right? So I mentally, I don't know if it's like a coping mechanism or what. I'm gonna hype myself. Yeah. You know, I'm gonna hype myself to the fullest. You know, even
right now I got a gut. And I'll put on a shirt and be like, damn, I got this gut. I look like a fucking drug dealer. You know, like a real drug dealer. Like you can tell I eat good. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of gut. Because I'm skinny in my arms and legs. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere else, I got this gut.
Yeah.
And I'll be looking like, shit. Well, I'm cute though with this gut. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and I'll start hyping myself up. You know what I'm saying? Well, shit, you got this going for you. You got this going for you. You know, like so. And I don't know if it's maybe a coping mechanism that I just developed over the years.
Yeah.
But it's something that works for me.
Yeah.
You know, like it's something that works for me because it'll boost my confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I get to open mic or I get to a show or something like that, I'm like, psh, you know, like y'all watch out for me.
Yeah.
You know, but I ain't gonna lie. Like sometimes the anxiety will come with that.
Yeah.
Because it's like I've built myself up to this. Now I feel like I gotta be this.
Yeah.
You know, like even with shows, man, like I'll be in the back and it's like I'm like in my mind I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, well, damn, I gotta fucking do good tonight. Because if I don't do good, all these people that came to see me gonna think I suck.
Yeah.
All the comics that think I'm good gonna think I suck. You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna be like, you know, and then you got all these people telling you, you know, before a show, hey man, do it, kill it, do your shit.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, okay, yeah, for sure. You know what I'm saying? But in your mind, you're like, fuck, man, you know, like, is this gonna be the night that everything fucking goes wrong? You know what I'm saying? Am I overthinking this? Like, should I do this joke? You know, what should I do? Like, it's just me. Like that's when the anxiety will kick in.
See stuff like that, like when like performance anxiety, like for comedy or music, anything like that. Like that kind of anxiety is a little fun to play with, you know, because like if you do have a good show after talking to yourself like, oh, don't do this, this, don't do that, and then you're like you survive, you know, in the sense of like putting off a good performance, you're like, I fucking did that.
Yeah,
you know, I'm fucking.
But if you don't, I think you take it like one step further. If you don't maybe think highly of yourself, you're gonna be nitpicking.
True.
Like I can like it's rare for me that I tell myself, man, you killed it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's always something I could have did better.
Yeah.
Or I fucking left this joke on the table. I was supposed to say this and I didn't. Or this person like interrupted me. I should have said this. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't. And And I'm like, hey, good job. Everybody give me a good job. My mom like, they're just fucking telling me that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know what I heard when I was up there.
You're toughest critic,
or, you
man.
know, like, yeah, but I'm not. It's rare that I'm gonna give myself all the props and say, man, you fucking did an amazing job tonight.
Yeah.
Which is weird because the way I would reward myself in the beginning was with food. Like I would tell myself, if you have a good open mic, go get some wings. You know what I'm saying? Or if you have a good open mic, you know, like go to Wing Daddies, or you know, like go to get you some Whataburger. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I would reward myself. You know, so if I had a bad mic, I felt like you don't deserve no fucking wings, man. You know what I'm saying? Go get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You know, like you don't fucking deserve that shit. You know.
That's crazy, dude. Like I'm the opposite of that. Like if I do something, if I'm bad or low or anything, I'm like, no, let me eat good. Right. You'll feel better if you eat good. You know what I mean? I don't celebrate with food. Like I use food like as like to make myself feel better.
Like look, I celebrate with food. You know, like anytime I do something good, even in like, man, look, even in my hustling drug dealing days, right? If I had a good night, everything went well.
Steaks.
You know, not even, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like so easy to please. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, you know what? I had a good night. I'm gonna fucking go to Mama Margie's. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm gonna ride over here. Like sometimes it's not even like the like top shelf. It's just like, okay, I'm going out of my way for this food because it's really good. I'm gonna go to this little mom and pop spot. It's like 20 minutes out the way, but fuck it. Yeah. I had a good night. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go over here and spend $10-15. You know what I'm saying? In that mindset of it's overindulgence to me because I feel like I don't have to do that, but because I got the means to do it because I had a good night, I'm gonna do it, man. Look, with my fucking shows, like with shows, that's how I do it. You know, like if I have a good night, I'm gonna eat good. Yeah. If I feel like especially if I make some money. Yeah. Like if I get paid for a show, I'm like, oh hell yeah. You know, shit, we eating Whataburger tonight, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it was funny how you going back to that, like where you're talking to yourself and all that stuff, you kind of like itemizing everything that is causing the anxiety and all that stuff. And when you break it down like that, because the whole thing with panic and anxiety is just like, it's just it's a big deal. You know what I mean? you're anxiety, you're anxious about everything. You're afraid of everything. You hate everything about yourself because this whole big thing is on your shoulders. It's on your back.
It's like super mental.
Yeah.
And how you think and you like what you think. You know, like look, I seen a meme and I've been sitting on this shit, but I seen this meme and I fucking saved it because I felt like it was I could relate to it and I felt like I wasn't the only one. But I haven't posted it because I felt like as soon as I do, fucking people are gonna start hitting me up. Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah.
And I don't like to be that person either, right? Like, you know, like I don't want to seem like I'm crying out for help and like, you know, in that regard.
Yeah.
You know, I like to think if I was ever in that place, I would reach out to someone. You know, like now everyone likes to think that until it happens. But the meme is like it's two people and it's like I think it's like my anxiety telling me everyone hates me and my depression telling me no one likes me enough to hate me.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I felt like it's so fucking funny, but it's so fucking real.
Yeah.
And I think that's the struggle with a lot of comics because comedy is our coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Like,
and see, that's the thing. If somebody were to see that, they're like, "Oh man, that's
it's funny because it's real. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny
like,
to us because we
it's
see
fucked
it.
up,
Like,
but it's real. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, you because you kind of think that, you know, like, don't worry, like nobody likes you enough to
fucking hate you, dude. You don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yourself,
Yeah. So like it's so fucking real. You know, like, and I think as a comic, it's such a coping mechanism
for sure.
You know, like laughter is like trying to like turn something into a joke.
Yeah.
You know, so like when you hear fat people making fat jokes. You know what I'm saying? Like when you hear black people making like dark jokes of like racism, it's real in that regard of things you've experienced and you trying to make light of it.
Yeah. No, but it's cool. Like just like breaking down stuff portion by portion. Like this is why I feel this way. This is why I feel that. That takes away the power when you break down like everything that's on your shoulders. Just piece it up, itemize it. And then you'll figure it out, and then it'll become less stressful, less powerful against you.
The real side of that though is like I'm 44, bro.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah.
To process those things, you know. But that's how I get in those moments, and it's like just me versus me, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna talk it out. Like you and Kwasi and Kwasi is gonna talk it out, and we'll get to some place of, I guess, some median. I wouldn't even call it normalcy.
Yeah.
We'll get to a median where we're gonna agree on this is how we're gonna deal with it. And man, it's definitely a factor. You know what I'm saying? Like
it has to be helpful. Like being your own therapist, talking to yourself. You know,
it's because at any given time, I can talk myself off the ledge.
There you go.
And it's very helpful. You know what I'm saying? Like especially like in moments where, you know, like look, even when I'm feeling moments of inadequacy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I can talk myself off the ledge. You know, like, man, look, maybe you don't have this and maybe you don't have that, but you did this, man.
Yeah.
And you've done this. You know what I'm saying? And
that's the balance.
So I'll point out things because sometimes I'm just hard on myself, like things I haven't done.
Yeah.
Things I don't have.
Yeah.
Things I haven't accomplished versus things I have. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the list of things I have versus having is like always shorter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, but I'll talk myself off the ledge. You know, like Mother's Day, I was talking to one of the mothers of my children, and she was just like asking me about, you know, like how are you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like mentally, how are you today? Because she knows, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
we had like a lengthy relationship, so she knows my issues with my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, you know, how are you just mentally? And I'm good today. You know, like today because I've talked to my children,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I see certain things as far as like things I'm thankful for,
Mm-hmm.
that I have good relationships with my children. I have grandchildren that I have relationships with.
Mm-hmm.
I get to watch my children be, you know, fathers, you know, my sons be fathers, which is a good thing because I feel like my daughters don't have kids.
Yeah.
As you know, like, it's a parent, you're okay with your sons having kids, but your daughter having a kid is me like somebody was raw dogging your daughter. You know what I'm saying? So like in that lane, it's like having grandkids is cool because they're just my sons.
Yeah.
Like two of my sons have kids. You know what I'm saying? So when I start thinking in that mind, I'm like, man, I'm like really fortunate. I have kids. I have good relationships with my kids. Sometimes I can go to, like, if I'm going to a show, sometimes I'll call my kids. I'll sit in the car and call my kids and like just go through the motions. It'll get me to a certain place.
Yeah.
You know, like, so having those things is like, oh wow, I really live like a good life.
That's
you know
awesome, man. To focus on the positive stuff.
Because the negative keeps me fucked up.
There you go.
You know, like, and like when I say fucked up, I mean like looking for confrontation fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm walking in a Valero, you don't hold the door. I'm like right behind you.
Yeah.
I'm ready to call you a bitch ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? You're a bitch ass nigga.
Because your anger is always at the ready.
Because yes, it's my anger is misdirected. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel this way.
You need it to go somewhere.
Yeah, and some of it is about me. You know, like it's how I feel about me. It's not even you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's in your mind. You maybe you didn't even see me walking in behind you.
Yeah.
Or more importantly, you might not care. But because maybe I have these feelings of inadequacy with me, I feel like why you don't care about me? Because you're a punk ass motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? You know, so and then I start to like, you know, like I'll just be all over the place. Yeah.
Talk yourself back.
I like how to talk myself down. You know, like I done had moments where I done spazzed out in the car with my kids, like on some road rage shit.
Yeah.
And my kids are like dead ass scared. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like my daughter is like over here, like, oh my God, I've never seen my dad like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I have to like, oh fuck, I'm sorry. You know
what I'm saying? Get a handle on that.
Yeah.
You gotta get a handle on that, man.
But I'm thankful I understand that it comes from other issues that I'm like able to talk about today.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing.
I appreciate you having me, man. I think this is when you first told me about it, I thought it was a great idea. I think it's gonna get like rave reviews, man. I think the guests are gonna be excited to do it. I think it gives you a different perspective in the comics.
Yeah.
Because I think all comics suffer from something.
You got something going on.
You know, like that's why you go into comedy. Some people are natural comics. Some people are not.
Yeah.
Like they go into comedy to try to, to fill that void. You know what I'm saying? I feel like how I felt like of wanting to matter, of wanting to be relevant. Because on the comedy scene, you don't have to be handsome or like the best looking. All you gotta do is be funny.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
You could be the ugliest motherfucker out there, but if you funny, you're the man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or you that chick. If you could be the most unattractive chick. It doesn't fucking matter if you're funny. You know
jokes
what I'm
are
saying?
jokes. If the jokes work, then,
yeah, man,
then you'll
look,
work.
If you talk about being ugly and they work, you know, like that's your shit. So I think the comics are gonna love it. You know, like in that regard. But I think regular people, to give them that insight into the comic world, I think it's gonna be great, man. I'm like super excited for it.
Thanks, man. Thanks. This was a good episode, man. I learned a lot about you. Hopefully you feel better. You feel better?
I do, man. I'm in a good place.
Awesome.
Like I said, like mentally, because I've, the self-therapy, look, if anybody listening, I do not encourage self-therapy, man. Like if
it works for you, it works for you.
Well, look, I definitely feel like going to therapy and having an outside person is helpful because you need that outside person sometimes. You just need that. And I think you need that positive reinforcement. I think that I get positive reinforcement from people who don't know I go through these things, and it's helpful at certain times. You know, like, I don't know if you've ever been that person comedically, but like before comedy, people would just say, Patrick, you make me laugh so much, and you were helping me today, and like, yeah, I had a bad day. Like you might post something and like someone like direct message you and says, man, that shit really helped me. I'm like, really, it was like super funny. I needed that today, and I'm going through something. So like those people, they don't know it, but like if I'm going through some like a moment, you gonna know, but you won't know because I'll start posting a bunch of funny shit.
Yeah, it'll be camouflaging some jokes
because it makes me feel good to make other people's laugh.
Yeah, that's
so
what we do.
if I can uplift other people, it'll make me feel way more relevant.
Yeah,
because if I feel like shit, or if I feel like I don't matter, or if I feel like inadequate or anything like that, I'm gonna make somebody laugh. And once I bring them that joy, that laughter, and like, oh, I needed this, they hit me with that shit, all right, bet. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel a lot better. But I definitely think sometimes having that outside person is helpful.
Yeah.
So don't, like if it works for you, then yeah, do it. But if it doesn't work for you, don't be afraid to go to a therapist. Don't be afraid to seek outside help. I think we should normalize not being okay.
Yeah.
Because it's okay to not be okay sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's nothing wrong with that. Everybody goes through it, and that's why I feel like people don't see that side of me a lot. So to know that, hey, look, man, shit, I go through shit too. Man, I have days where I feel like I ain't shit.
Yeah.
You might hold me in a high regard, but some days I feel like I ain't good enough. So I get it. And shit, some days, those days are more than the other days. That's why I dress up sometimes to like maybe disguise it. If I dress nice, I'll feel better.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm thankful that you had me on. I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. Thanks for doing this.
Peace.
Later.